Hi, my CAS family. It's been a long time. I'm here to show you today. We're going to do an experiment. This experiment, we're going to take milk and we're going to make it into this. I want to say plastic, but I'm going to tell you the difference. It's not really plastic, but it kind of has the properties of plastic. So this was milk. So what we're going to need for this experiment is you're going to need 1 cup of whole milk. I'm not using whole milk, I'm using 2% milk because that's all I have in my house. Whole milk will make it actually even cooler. See how this is? This is what I can do with 2% milk. If you have whole milk, you could actually, when we're done, when it's still like pliable, you can make it into a shape and then have it freeze into like kind of a plastic thing. So you can make a like kind of a souvenir that you can take from this if you're able to use whole milk. If not, this is what 2% will do. There's not enough fat for it to bind completely, so it's not as moldable or pliable. You're going to need 4 tablespoons of vinegar, basic, regular old vinegar. Most people probably even have it under their sink like we do because we use it for cleaning, we use it for cooking, we use it for everything. So you need 4 tablespoons of vinegar, so I've got a 2 tablespoon scoop waiting. You're going to need a strainer, and you're going to need a small hole strainer. So this has got the smaller holes. You know, there's some that have the bigger, a colander that has the bigger holes. You're going to need the strainer because you're going to strain out little pieces when you're done. I've got a bowl and a spoon. And what we're going to do is we are going to heat up the milk. So you're going to take 1 cup of milk and pour it into a small pan, or you can maybe use a microwave if you have to. Please get an adult to help my younger ones to heat this up. You're going to want to heat it, it's kind of weird, you're going to want to heat it to about 200 degrees. If you have a thermometer or a meat thermometer or a cooking thermometer, you can put it right in there and heat it up to 200 degrees. For me, I don't have that again, but I'm going to heat it up to just before boiling. So I have it on right now. I'm kind of keeping an eye on it while we're doing this, and we're going to heat it up to just before boiling. And how I'm going to know that is there's going to be a few little bubbles that come up, but not a lot. The actual boiling temperature for milk, I was like, oh, well, you know, water's 212. What's milk? Well, it's kind of interesting because milk is 212.3 degrees. So it's just very slightly higher than water is. So I'm going to heat my milk up to about 200 degrees. We don't want it to boil, so we don't want it all bubbly, but we also want it as close to boiling as we can get it. So right now my water is heating up, and while we're doing that, I want you to think about what we're going to do is eventually we're going to mix the 1 cup of water with the 4 tablespoons of vinegar. So let's go over and see about our lab report, and you can start writing or observing and gathering your materials if you have. So let me give you the materials and the lab report so we can start doing that part of it. Okay, so right now you're going to want to make that prediction. What do you predict will happen when we combine the 1 cup milk with the 4 tablespoons of regular vinegar? Remember, at any time, you can just turn this off, write it out, and then come back to it when you're ready to do it. Okay, my milk is about right where I want it, so I'm going to start the experiment. So I'm going to take off the stove the 1 cup of milk, and I'm going to pour it into my bowl here. Be very careful, it's hot. And then I'm going to take the 4 tablespoons of vinegar. So I have a 2 tablespoon measure, so I'm going to do it twice. Now I hope you can kind of see what's going on in the bowl, kind of maybe watch up close, and you can see, should be able to see something happen almost immediately. And then what we're going to do is we're going to spend 1 minute stirring this up. So it needs to be stirred. Let's see if I can get any closer. Unfortunately, my videographer is busy with his own classwork today, so I have to do all of this on my own. Let me see. Yeah, can you kind of see now what's happening within that? So I'm going to stir it for about 1 minute. It's getting like gloopy. I don't know, can you see? So I'm going to keep stirring. What we're doing right now is we're forming something called, or taking the protein out of the milk. So what's happening is this white glob that I said looked like plastic, it's actually something called casein. And casein is just the protein from milk. So what we're doing is we're removing the protein from the milk. So some of that good stuff, the stuff that's really healthy for us, we're going to take it out. We did that just by making a chemical reaction. This is definitely a chemical reaction, and we know it because it is changing what it is, and I mean, there's definitely a smell to it as well. So another hint that it's a chemical reaction. So when you do it, go ahead and take that smell, take that sniff. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to stop the video for a second, and we're going to go over to my sink, and we're going to strain what we just did. So it's been about a minute, so I think that hopefully it'll be good enough. So let me turn this off, and we'll go over to my... So what we're doing right now is I'm going to try to do this one-handed and with the phone. So is we're going to dump the whole thing of milk into the strainer. And I'm going to, it's okay to get the water on it. I'm going to rinse out to try to get some of the little bits out. And then, we're going to rinse it in the strainer a little bit. Now this is going to be interesting, because what you want to do is you're going to want to take this and you're going to want to form it into, well, with the 2%, you're only going to be able to form it into a ball. But if you had the milk that's a little bit better, it's going to be a little less, like, there's going to be a little less pieces in it, and you're going to be able to take it and form it into a shape, which I was hoping I could make a heart out of it when I first tried this. I was like, oh, that sounds like a good idea. Okay, so you're going to take this. I'm not going to make it perfect right now, but you guys can take all of it. And actually, this one's forming a little bit better even than my last time. Maybe my milk's a little hotter this time. So again, those are variables that you can test with an experiment. So we're going to form this, and then what I'm going to do is you just take a piece of paper towel. You can set it there. You could form it as much as you want, and then let it dry out. And it'll dry out just like the other one did. This is actually a little bit more of a solid one. That's kind of cool. Okay, so let me go over and we'll look at the science involved. Okay, for my parents out there, I would strongly suggest what I did during this little break was I went and rinsed out everything there. The little pieces tend to harden fairly quickly when they're on their own, so like rinse out the bowl and rinse out the strainer really quick so it doesn't stick to it. Now we're going to go to I observed. So based on what we just did, whatever, take some time to fill out the report on what you observed with that. And finally, our conclusions. Let me give you some background information so that you can help write the conclusions. What we're going to look at is we're going to look at the two science terms that were involved in this. Well, two of the things that you might have thought happened. The first one is called the casein. That's the main protein present in milk. We use it for foods, obviously, very much so, but it's also used in adhesives, paints, and other industrial products. So in paint, they might have milk, which is kind of funny to think about. So casein, though, as we see, it can harden and it can become, it can become plastic-like. But when I say plastic-like, it is plastic-like. It is not a plastic. Plastics are what's called a polymer. And a polymer is a molecule made from joining together many small molecules. So a polymer is taking many things together and joining it, whereas casein is one solid thing that consists of all the same thing. Now, some examples are polymers that we've made, people make, as nylon, polyester, or Teflon. But there's also natural ones like silk and wool. So those are polymers. So what you produced was a casein, and what happened was a chemical reaction. So if you want to talk about either of those things in your wrap-up, that would be great. Take some time, make a nice lab report. If you want to email me, it's Carla, K-A-R-L-A, .arns, A-R-E-N-S, at clevelandmetroschools.org. I'd love to hear from all of you. Hopefully we'll get another video posted sometime soon. Stay curious, stay safe. See you soon.